Welcome to Comics Bazaar, the channel of comics commentary and arcana. This video features X-Men, that's X-Men Volume 2, number 39, cover dated December 1994. So this is a very designy type cover coming in the wake of Uncanny X-Men 319's cover by Steve Epting. So we've got a little modification of the title logo and no cover caption to explain who this character is for anyone who hadn't read X-Force Annual number 2 or a couple of issues of X-Force as well. This is Adam X, sometimes known by the epithet The Extreme. And obviously he's cradling the body of somebody who's badly injured, but we have to read the inside of the comic to find out who it is exactly. It's quite a eye-catching cover. But I don't know that I exactly like it, because when I zoom in on the details, it's kind of hard to see. Is Adam kneeling in the snow here, or is he up to his waist in snow? We've got the right leg of a character here, but is that their left leg as well? And how does this work? If you follow the big toe here, it seems to disappear into this shadowed area, whereas the sock is going up the leg here, with the boot broken open. It's just hard to read it when you start paying attention to it. So even though this definitely jumps off a comic shop's shelf visually, paying attention to it, it kind of falls apart a little bit in my view. And it's penciled and inked by Andy Kubert, and I always like to see an artist penciling and inking their own work. Okay, so let's open this one up to the first page. And it opens, as it turns out, in the past, World War II, and we have a pilot here piloting his P-51 Mustang and is being attacked by a Luftwaffe squadron. So he evades them by flying through this valley. A few of the Luftwaffe planes run into the sides of the valley, and he manages to blow out of the sky one of them that's following him. He's got a target here and drops his bombs, drops his payload. The target goes up in an explosion. Another successful mission. Means he's that much closer to surviving this mess. Then he'll go home, hold Deb tight in his arms and warm the chill off the frigid Alaska nights. And every morning, Philip Summers will rev up the engines, lift himself up and over the canopy of trees which stretch as far as the eye can see and fly high until the day he dies. So this is Philip Summers, who is Cyclops' grandfather. So he's the father of Christopher Summers, who of course is the father of both Scott Summers and Alex Summers, Havoc. And may perhaps be the father of someone else, or maybe it's there's something else in the background that is a Summers, a Cyclops and Havoc connection for this guy here. And look at his strange eye makeup, or is it just the way that his eyelashes work? This is Adam X, and he has caught sight of that plane crash in the present. So he's an alien of some description and thinks to himself in the first person narrative caption, "Selfish, becoming just like an Earther, aren't you, Adam?" But if someone is in trouble, he can't turn his back on them. Within minutes, he's covered the 6 miles between Highway 4 and the down plane. So he's obviously got super strength and agility. If the knee-high snow or the thick trees of the Canadian Yukon wilderness pose a problem, he doesn't pay them much attention. Right, so he is more than human. And of course, look at his 90s design with a little beardy thing on him and the backwards baseball cap. It's pretty ridiculous now from the vantage point of 2023. Indeed, more charitably, it's pretty much quaint. So he rescues, as it turns out, Philip from the wreckage of the plane crash and manages to get away just before the fuel tank goes up. Stop analysing and move at him before the birds of a feather. So there's something gone wrong there with Bill Oakley's placement of the lettering, the digital lettering on this. But here now we have our title for the story, Birds of a Feather. Birds of a Feather flock together. And the creative team, Fabian Nicieza, writer, Terry Dodson, guest penciler, Matt Ryan, inker, Bill Oakley, letterer, Kevin Summers, Marie Javins, Digital Chameleon, credited with the colour art. And we have a little kind of creator credit here for Adam X Extreme, created by Fabian Nicieza with Greg Capullo and Jeff Johnson. So Fabian Nicieza was setting Adam X up as a significant figure and intended to tie him to both Cyclops and Havoc. And you can look all the way back to X-Men Volume 2, number 23, for some things that Mr. Sinister had to say to Cyclops in that issue regarding Summers' brothers. And so we're picking up with that now. So we've got a nice little DeLuca effect as they're falling down the hill here, and he manages to grab his baseball hat. Very funny. And in silhouette here, they fall to the ground, and Philip is badly injured from the crash. But Adam senses that he's alive. His breathing's so laboured, his ribs may be broken. Come to think of it, he's not feeling that great himself. It's cold, night is coming. He has no idea how far it is to the nearest town. Alone, a strange man on a strange world, with a stranger in his arms. What a lonely way to die. But of course, perhaps they're related. The next morning, in the converted boathouse at the Xavier Institute, which is now the marital home of Scott Summers and Jean Grey, otherwise known as Cyclops and Phoenix, now that Jean has chosen that code name officially for herself. We've got the Beast here. He's got some gossip for Jean, but she's not really paying attention. And it is because she's thinking about her sister Sarah, who went missing. In retrospect, it turned out that she went missing around Uncanny X-Men 214, 215, in the era of the Morlock Massacre. And she turned up recently as part of the Phalanx. And so Jean is saying here to Hank that she was missing for so long. I always hoped we'd find her one day, but then the Phalanx destroyed all that. I should have done more to find her. I should have done something. I'm the X-Men. I've put my life on the line, not Sarah, not sweet Sarah. So then the phone goes, and it turns out there's a spot of bad news for Cyclops, and that is that his grandfather has gone missing. He took a plane out, didn't file a flight plan, and he never came home. So everybody rallies round. Cyclops is determined to go up to Alaska, and also we get the point made, and it links back to X-Men 23, that when Cyclops discovered that Sinister had been his grandparents' neighbour, posing as a Mr. Milbury, it seems like Cyclops asked them to move away from Alaska and closer to him for protection, but they refused. And so he's been worried about them ever since. And so, of course, he's probably thinking here that Mr. Sinister may be involved in the disappearance of his grandfather. Jean says that she'll go with him up to Alaska. So then we pick up with Adam X and Philip Summers. He's made a little stretcher here, and he's dragging him through the snow. And Philip is conscious now, tells him his name, asks what happens. The instrument gauge has got so blurry. So he asks Adam, where are we? And Adam says, I'm not from around here. I was hoping you could tell me that. So Philip says, well, we could be anywhere, within several thousand miles of anywhere else. This is Alaska, you know. And he explains about the blurry vision, that he had a grey spell. His eyes have been acting up on him lately. He's a stubborn old man who had to go up one more time, had to fly before his eyes finally gave out. And Philip then interestingly says, but you look familiar to me. I guess all blurry people look alike, eh? So we see Adam from Philip's point of view, and he is blurring there. He tells him his name is Adam, that he's a traveller, a wanderer searching for his home. So there's lots of irony running through this in terms of what Fabian Nicieza's intention was for Adam X. So they kind of bond a little bit. Adam says there's a storm on the way and he better build a shelter. And Philip says, son, we're somewhere between Mount Hubbard and Mount Vancouver, and it'll get to 40 below before it gets really cold. A fire won't make much difference then. But Adam sets about building a teepee here, and they continue to have a conversation. Philip saying that, you know, like, you're stubborn, but you get the job done. Reminds me of several young men that I know, and of course he's referring to his own son and his grandsons. Your kin? It must be good to feel the bonds of family, says Adam. Well, I was just reunited with my grandsons a few years ago, says Philip, and my son as well. They'd been missing for a while. It's a long and strange story, and it's the naughty backstory of Cyclops and the plane crash of his parents, Christopher and Catherine, and then they're sending out their two sons because there was only the one parachute, and then Scott and Alex believing their parents dead, but really they were rescued by the Shi'ar. But Catherine died, and Christopher survived, and is now Corsair, the commander of the Starjammer. So Adam, when he hears it all, says, that must have been wonderful finding them again. I grew up very much alone, very much an outcast. What little I had in the way of nest and brood, I lost. And it's interesting, some of his figures of speech have to do with birds, nest and brood there. And again, these are big clues that there's a bit of Shi'ar in Adam's DNA makeup, as well as that. Is it eye makeup or just the way his eyelashes go? Are these little kind of feathers instead of hair eyelashes? Because of course the Shi'ar are evolved species that used to be able to fly but no longer. So their conversation continues as Adam lights a fire, and he says, there are a whole lot of people on this world, Adam, who feel they don't belong, that they're not a proper part of things. He's talking ostensibly about mutants, of course. Seems to be a part of being human. Is it, sir? Says Adam. You know, who, implication is, if he's half Shi'ar, he's half human as well. He looks at the old man, trying to hide his concern. The night will be cold and Philip Summers is weakening. He prays for the dawn. And then we have an interlude somewhere far, far away. Another wanderer continues his lonely, endless quest. He plods forward through Israel's Negev desert, wandering south past the Dead Sea, with no idea of where he's going. And this, of course, turns out to be Legion. And he has a crystal model of his father, Professor X. And then he has a vision of Destiny, the woman he murdered when he was being controlled by the Shadow King in Uncanny X-Men 255. And in issue 254, Irene, Destiny, had a vision of the future where everything turned to crystal. And so that's the visual references here with the X-Men, but also Magneto there in these crystalline forms. And she says, David Haller, son of Gabrielle Haller and Charles Xavier, you are Legion, the many made one. And only you can heal the rift between humans and mutants which threatens to tear this world apart, David. Only you can make this world right. It's his destiny. So, is it an hallucination that he's having? Is he still somewhat mad? But he's determined to make things right. And part of that is that he believes that his father has been thwarted in bringing about his dream because of Magneto and all the battles his father had to fight down the years, which have delayed him fulfilling his dream. And then we get another little interlude in New Orleans, and the revelation here is that Belladonna Boudreaux is the new leader of the Assassin's Guild because her father's passed away. And this will connect into the Rogue miniseries, which the first issue of which comes out next month, in the month after this particular issue's publication. So then we go back to Alaska, where Philip is weakening from loss of blood from his injuries, and he feels that Adam, however, his skin is hot, his voice accent strange. Where are you from? So Adam says out there, but also I'm beginning to realize more and more from here as well. So he's got an intuition now regarding his dual heredity, Shi'ar and human. You mean you're an alien? Asks Philip. After all I've learned these past few years, why am I not surprised? Show me please where you came from. So Adam points it out to the right of the configuration, humans call Orion's belt. So Philip sees it, and Philip wonders at how amazing it must have been to have flown through all of that. And Adam says, "It has never been something I could truly appreciate, Philip. What good is it to have been among the stars, to have seen the face of infinity, if you're empty in here inside your heart where it really matters?" So he's searching for family, for kith and kin, a nest he might call home. So Philip talks about how he's only dreamed of flying where Adam has flown, and his pulse gets weak, and Adam determines that Philip isn't going to die, so he cuts lightly the palms of his flesh. The blade is made of a metal never seen on this planet. Adam cuts both of Philip's palms, oh so lightly, only enough to draw the slightest blood. Then he holds his hands and lets his mutant powers, the ability to ignite the electrolytes in a person's oxygenated blood, softly flow through him and into the wounded old man. And so he's never used his gift like this before, to heal, to warm. Instead, it has always been a weapon, but he uses it to keep Philip alive. And someone finds them, discovers the teepee, half covered in snow in the morning, a search helicopter, and this man, I think he's revealed later to be a neighbor, and he contacts Anchorage and tells them to contact Deborah at the airport, tell her to recall Scott from his search up north. I'm in Canadian airspace in the valley below Mount Hubbard over the St. Elias Range. Tell Deb that I found her stubborn old coot of a husband and that he's still alive. How can he know that from there? Unless he's just inferred. No, he can't know it from there, because Philip maybe somehow made the teepee, but he could be dead inside. He doesn't know until he gets on the ground to confirm that he's alive. But what happens is 2 days later, we have a scene set at the Providence Hospital in Anchorage, and Philip has survived, but he's lost his sight. And the neighbor here says that he had help from someone. No way could Phil have built that shelter in the shape he was in, and there was some sort of bloodstains nearby. So the question is, why didn't the stranger stay and wait? Because he didn't want to be found, says the neighbor here. So their conversation continues in the cafeteria or the canteen, and then Jean catches a psi flash, so she heads upstairs, and because she's picking up strange thought patterns, strange but somehow familiar, like the calm at the eye of a hurricane, and they're coming from Philip's room. And so it's Adam. He's there, he came in the window, and Jean picks up that he's not there with any hostile intentions. And Adam realizes that she's reading his mind. She tells Adam that he's lost his eyesight, but he'll live thanks to you. And Adam says, I want to give him more. You can read my mind, can't you? So she says, yes. Can you do what I'm asking? Yes. So she mind links the two. And then we have Adam sharing his experience of flying a Shi'ar scout craft in an attack on a dreadnought craft here. So here he is in his little Shi'ar scout craft up against this thing. These are real Dave Cockrum style designs that Terry Dodson is using here, and that's pretty cool. So he gives that experience to Philip. The speed and energy envelope rips. Your ship is pushed where it has no business going, into warp drive, until Philip Summers kisses the stars in all their glory, all their bright lights, goodbye. So we see him shedding a few tears here and smiling as he sleeps or rests. So Jean says, thanks for giving Philip that, and more his very life. And Adam says, Ma'am, he gave me just as much. He gave me something I've been lacking since I first found myself here. He gave me hope. Interesting. And then our final page. So Scott arrives up. Is everything okay? Okay, everything's great, Scott. Everything's wonderful. They walk away together, their hearts whole with a love that goes beyond explanation. Scott Summers' grandfather was saved today, and Scott can't help but feel that his fractured family lines have been made stronger because of this near tragedy. Little does he know how terrifyingly right he is. And this is an homage to the end of Uncanny X-Men number 97. Whose gauntleted hand is this? Well, it turns out to be Eric the Red. And whose gloved hand with these flying ribbons is this? Well, that's more easily recognizable as Mr. Sinister, of course, with his ongoing interest in the family lines of the Summers. And here's the thing. Fabian Nicieza left the X-Books in 1995, the next year. And so he never finished his original story idea for Adam X. But he did finish it in, I think, 2020. X-Men Legends, the first run on X-Men Legends, and specifically in X-Men Legends issue number 2, where he reveals that Adam X's parentage is actually Cyclops' mother, Catherine Summers, and the Emperor Deken of the Shi'ar, and that Adam X was the product of a genetic, a blending of the DNA of Catherine Summers and Emperor Deken. So he wasn't naturally born, but he is a half-brother to both Scott and Alex. So that was Nicieza's intention, but as I said, it didn't get fulfilled until almost 30 years later with X-Men Legends number 2, because of his departure from the X-Books in 1995. And Terry Dodson's art in this issue, it's pretty good. It's not too bad. He'd continue improving. In his work, I see the influence of I'm just blanking on his name, the creator of the Rocketeer, Dave Stevens, and also, in addition to that, Adam Hughes, of course. But his artwork would improve a lot in the coming years, and he will do a very nice job on the Storm miniseries in 1996 with Warren Ellis. So there you go. I do hope that you enjoyed this review and commentary on X-Men number 39. You know, we're still in the run-up to Legion Quest and ultimately the Age of Apocalypse here. If you liked the video, please like it on YouTube, and if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more content like this.